What's up everyone, welcome to the Surfside PPC YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be going over how to move your WordPress website from one website hosting server to another. So if you've purchased a new server where you want to move your website to, this is how you're going to be able to move all of your files and your database over so that you can use your new server. So you can see right here, this is my old server, so it's VPS server. And if we look at my new one, so I'm going to come over here, you can see it's a dedicated server. So I'm going to be moving everything from my VPS server over to my dedicated server. So in order to get started, what I'm going to do first is go through the process of how I'm going to move everything over. So first, with getting started, you want to download an FTP client. The one I'm going to be using is FileZilla. It's available for any type of computer that you use, and an SSH client. So the one I'm going to be using here is Putty. These are both completely free to use, so all you need to do is do a quick Google search for FileZilla, for Putty, and just download each software from their respective websites. So if we come over to Google real quick, we can see FileZilla right here, so you're just going to download it from FileZillaProject.org. And if you do a quick Google search for Putty, there's a few different areas where you can download this from. It's available for Windows, for Mac. You shouldn't have any issues using it, regardless of the computer that you're using. So for Putty, I would recommend just going to putty.org. So just go to this website right here, go to FileZilla-project.org. Each of these will allow you to download these software completely for free directly to your computer so that you can move your website files and then import and export your database. And I'm going to go through how to do everything throughout this process. Okay, so coming back over here, now the website I'm going to be moving today is going to be farmhousegoals.com. So you can see I have farmhousegoals.com open here. Nothing is going to change on the website. So that's ultimately the goal, is to move this entire website from one server to the other without losing any of our files, without losing anything that we've already created. So even our domain name is going to stay the same. Everything is going to stay the same, except all of our files and our database is going to be housed on this new server, which is going to perform better than our old server. So that's ultimately the goal here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back over here, and what I recommend doing is first going into your old server and opening up a few different pages. So when you're in cPanel, just scroll down a little bit. Under files here, you're going to see File Manager and you're going to see FTP Manager. So you want to open both of those pages to get started. And then the other thing you can do is keep scrolling down, or wherever it is in your cPanel. You're going to see database tools here, and you're going to see phpMyAdmin, and then you're going to see domains here and domain manager. So you should be able to find these all pretty easily in the cPanel of your hosting account. So if we come over here real quick, this is what File Manager is going to look like. So it's going to bring you into this home and then / whatever the name of your hosting account is. And if we come over here and just click on public HTML, this is where all of our website files are going to be. So these are going to be all the files that we want to move over. If we come over here to FTP accounts, this is how you're going to create an FTP account that's going to allow you to connect with FileZilla. So you're going to see FileZilla right here. I'll show you how to create a new FTP account and how to connect with FileZilla. And then with phpMyAdmin, it'll look exactly like this. It'll have your database right here. So your database is what you're going to want to move from your old server into your new server. So we're going to come back over here. So make sure you open some of these different pages. You can also open Domain Manager. I'm going to go through this at the very end. I always recommend moving all of your website files first and then pointing your domain from your old server to your new server. And then I just recommend transferring that domain to your new server so that everything is in your new server, and you don't have to worry about having a domain in one Bluehost account or whichever hosting provider you're using and then moving that domain to another hosting account. So we're just going to keep it all in the same account. Okay, so coming back over here, the first thing that we're going to be doing is exporting our database from phpMyAdmin using Putty. However, one thing you can try to do is just export it directly from phpMyAdmin. Now, you might have trouble if you have a large database like I do. However, if you just have a new website, you just want to move to a new hosting server, you don't have a ton of files on your website yet, you don't have a huge database yet, you might be able to just export it directly from phpMyAdmin. So what you would do is you're going to come over here, you're in your old server still, and you're going to come right to phpMyAdmin. So what you're going to do is click on your database right here. So this is the database that we want to move over to our new server. So we're going to click on it. So you'll see at the top here, we have our database open. What you can do is just come over here to export. And what it's going to say right here is exporting tables from your database. You can use export method quick, keep the format as SQL, and just click on go right here. Now, I tried to do this. My website ended up timing out multiple times. So this didn't work for me just because my database is too large. but you can try to do this if you have a smaller database. And when you click on go here, what it should do is download your entire database directly to your computer. So it's going to be a file that looks something like this right here. So you're going to see I have my database file right here, SQL text file. So if you are able to download it in this method, I was not able to. It should just download this file directly to your computer. And then hopefully what you can do is take this database file and just import it directly into your new server. Now, this didn't work for me. This is why I'm going to be using Putty. It doesn't work for a lot of larger websites just because you have larger databases and you have more files. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you how to do this with Putty. Exporting our database from phpMyAdmin using Putty. So you want to open Putty on your computer right now. It's going to look just like this. So what we need to do first is get our host name. You're going to see host name or IP address. You can enter either or. It's going to have port 22 right here, and then connection type is going to be SSH. So what I like to do is just take my IP address. So if we come over here, you can see this is my IP address right here. Now the other thing you can do is if we just come over to our other hosting account, so our dedicated hosting account, you can also sign in just using the main URL on your account. So those are a couple different options that you can use to sign in. What I'm going to be doing is using this dedicated IP right here. So we're going to take this IP address right here. We're going to copy it. We're going to come over and we're just going to enter it right here. So you're just going to enter this IP address right there, port 22 SSH, and we're going to click on open. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, you're going to see login as. So we're going to come over here. We're going to log in using this username right at the top right here, farmhpc1. So you can find all of this in your cPanel. You can also just log in, making sure that you're using the main domain name on your account. And if you're not really sure what your username is, you can see right here our home directory. So you can see home/farmhpc1. Usually your home directory can also show you what your username is, and you can find this using File Manager. So if you go to your cPanel File Manager, you're going to see home farm hpc1 right here. So we're going to come over here, we're going to log in as, so we're going to do farm hpc1, come back over to this page over here, and you're just going to click on enter. And now it's going to ask you for your password. So your password is going to be the password that you use to sign in into your hosting account. Now, one thing to keep in mind is when you do type your password into Putty here, it's not always going to show the characters. So I'm going to type mine in right here, but it's going to look like I'm not typing in anything, but we'll type it in, click on enter. Okay, so now it should look something like this. You should have an established connection with your server. So all you need to do is make sure that you enter that dedicated IP, you log in with your main username, and then you enter your password that you use to log into your hosting account, and it will connect you with your server. So the next thing we need to do is export our database so that we can import it into our new server. Now, what I would recommend doing, because the command is going to be a little bit different depending on the hosting provider that you use, is just coming into Google, searching export database SSH, and you're going to see there's different articles for all these different hosting providers here. So one for Namecheap.com, one for GoDaddy, one for SiteGround. So I just opened up the one for SiteGround here. You're going to see articles that look like this, and it's going to show you how to export and import a MySQL database using SSH. So for this, I'm going to be using Bluehost. So if I come into Bluehost here, they have how to export and how to import. So we obviously need to start with exporting our database from our old server. So we're going to scroll down here a little bit, and you can see right here, this is going to be the command that we're going to use. Okay, now before you do this, you need to make sure that you have a username that can access your database name, and you're going to need to make sure that you have your password for that username. So what you're going to do is you're going to come back over to cPanel. We're still on our old server here. And you're going to open this page right here, MySQL Databases. So when you open this page right here, it's going to look something like this. And what you're going to see is it's going to have our database right here. So this is the database that we're exporting. And if we scroll down, you're going to see MySQL Users. So you need to make sure that you're adding a new user to your database. So what you would do right here is just enter a username. So for mine, I just have farmhpc1_Corey. So all I did was just enter Corey here. You create a password, enter your password again, and then click on create user. And then what you want to make sure that you do is add a user to your database. So I have this user that I already have here. I have my database here, the one that I want to export, and you want to click on add. And when you click on add it, you're going to want to make sure that you click on all privileges right here. So you want to click on all privileges. We're going to keep scrolling down, and you want to click on make changes right here to make sure that your username has all privileges for this database. Okay, so you can see current users. So I have my username right here. It's already added to that database. I have access to that database. So what I need to do is come back over to Putty. Okay, so what we want to do right here is we're going to type in this command right here. So you're going to want to make sure that you adjust this command depending on the hosting that you're using. So here's what we'll do. We'll do MySQL dump. We're going to do -p -u. And now what you want to do is enter that username that I showed you in the previous step, and you want to enter your database name here as well. So for me, that was farm_hpc1_ space, and then farm_hpc1_ and then mine is FHGDB. So you're gonna have to make sure you enter this correctly, otherwise it's not gonna work. And then what we're gonna do is enter this greater than symbol. So you wanna make sure you enter the symbol here, and then it's gonna be dbname.sql. So what I do is farm_hpc1_ FHGDB and then .sql, and we're going to click on enter. So what it's going to do now, it's going to ask you for your password, and you're going to want to enter the password that you used when you created your MySQL database user. So it's not going to be the password on your hosting account. It's not going to be the same password that we entered in this first step unless you made it that same password. So we want to enter the password here for the MySQL user that we just created. So you want to make sure that you remember the password that you created there. And what we're going to do is enter it right here. Again, whenever you enter passwords here, it's not going to show that you're typing anything, but I just entered it. I'm going to click on enter. Okay, so if you get this generally means that it works. So if it didn't work, you'll usually get some type of error message. So you might get something like, this user does not have the privileges to be able to do this, in which case you have to make sure that you go back to that page that I just showed you to give the user all the different privileges that they need in order to take this MySQL database and add it into your file manager. So what we're going to be doing next is we're going to be coming back over to our file manager. So we're going to come back over here. So you want to make sure you have your file manager open. You can also do this using FTP as well, but what we're going to do is we're here in our public HTML folder, and we're going to go up one level. So we're just at our home / and then the main directory for our account. And what you should see here, if we scroll to the bottom, you're going to see this file right here. So farm_hpc1_ FHGDB.sql. So we move the entire file into our file manager into this main account right here. So what I'll generally do is I'll take this file and then I'll move it. So we'll just come over here to move, and then we're just going to put it right into our public HTML folder. So we're going to move it into public HTML, and you want to make sure that you just move it into the folder where you have all of your different website files. So now if we come in here to public HTML, what you're going to see is this is our farmhousegoals.com. So this is where all of our website files are housed. You're going to see this SQL file right here. So when we move all of these different website files, we're going to be able to move our SQL file right here as well. So you're going to see all of our different files right here, and we have the SQL file. So this is our database and all of our website files. So they're ready for us to move them to our computer using FileZilla. Now, one thing you can try to do is take all of these different files here and compress them and then download them directly to your computer. So what you would do is select all these different files. So it's not going to work for me, but what you can do is select them, and then you just come over here, click on compress. And what it's going to do is it's going to create a zip file, and you can click on compress, and then you'll get a zip file that looks like this, and you can try to download it directly to your computer, but you would want to make sure obviously that you're taking every single file here. So you would make sure you want these three right here: WP-Admin, WP-Content, WP-Includes, and then everything down here as well. So including your database. You don't need to transfer over your error log or anything like that. Now, one other thing you can do is make sure if you're running a WordPress website, clear your cache before you actually download all of your files and start moving them over, because a lot of times what you're going to end up doing is moving a lot of your cached files over. So what you can do is remove them directly from WordPress using the cache plugin that you're using. So if you're using WP Super Cache, whatever it is, you can make sure you go in there and remove all of those files before you move everything over. Now, if you don't do that, it's not the end of the world. It's just going to end up moving over more files than you need. But what you can do is just try right here, take this file from WP-Admin or whichever your top file is, scroll all the way to the bottom, take the bottom file all the way down here, compress it, and try to just download it that way. That didn't work for me either because I just have too many files for this website, which is why I'm moving to a new server to begin with. So what we're going to be doing next is connecting using FileZilla and using our FTP account that we create through cPanel so we can move all of our website files directly to our computer. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back over here to cPanel, and you want to come to this files area. So right where you open File Manager, and you want to open up FTP Manager now. So if you open up FTP Manager, it's going to open a page that looks like this. This is where you can create your FTP accounts. So you're going to create a login. You're going to have your domain here. If you have multiple domains on your account, you just want to make sure you select the domain on your account. And then you're going to create a password here. And it's going to put you into a directory on your website when you do sign into FileZilla. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to come over here to File Manager. So the directory we want to be in is public HTML. So it's going to be /home/farm-hpc1 and then /public HTML. And that's going to be the exact directory where all of our files are and where our database is right now. So we're going to come back over here to FTP account. So let's create a login here. So for this, I'll just do example. So our login is going to be example@farmhousegoals.com. You're going to create a password here. So enter your password. And then what we want to do over here in directory, you're going to see it's going to say /home/farm-hpc1 and then public HTML, and it's going to say farmhousegoals.com/example. We're going to get rid of all of this. We just want to come right into public HTML. So it's just going to be home, farm, hpc1, and public HTML here. And then what we're going to do is click on create FTP account. Okay, so our account's created. So now what we're ready to do is connect to our website using FTP. So we're going to come back over here to FileZilla. And what we want to do at the top here is you're going to type in FTP dot, and then you're going to enter your domain name here. So farmhousegoals.com. Our username is going to be the one that we just created. So it's going to be example@farmhousegoals.com. Our password is going to be the one we just created as well. So enter that there. And then port for this one is going to be 21. So the SSH port is 22. That should automatically show when you open your Putty account. But when you come into FileZilla, the FTP port is going to be 21. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on Quick Connect here. Okay, so now you can see directory listing, and it's going to say of/successful. So what you're going to see over here is it's going to have all of our file names. That what we want to do is move these over to our computer. So we have all of our different file names here, and we also have our SQL file right here. So this should match everything that you have in your file manager. So if we open up File Manager real quick, you can see we have WP-Admin, WP-Content, includes, htaccess. We have our SQL file, and then all of these different WordPress files down here as well. So we come back over to FileZilla, and what you can see over here to the right-hand side is we have all these same files here as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to start here from this one at the very bottom, or very top in this case, and we're going to scroll down and we're going to come all the way to WP-Admin. And if you have other folders here, you can move them as well. So this other folder, I don't need to move these three right here: CGI bin, .wellknown, and temp. I don't need to move those, but every other one I'm going to move. Now I can avoid just not moving my error logs. Maybe that's the one that I will not move. So we'll take everything but the error log and these three files right here. So you definitely want to move all your WordPress files, WP-Admin, WP-Content, WP-Includes. You want to make sure you select your SQL database here. Okay, so now we have everything that we want to move. And what you want to do is move this into a folder on your website. So you want to create a new folder on your website over here. So I already have it here. So it's owner, documents, farmhousegoals.com. I already have this folder created. And what you're going to do is just take all these files, just click right here, and you're going to drag over here. So you should see something like this. You're going to select all the files you want to move, drag them over into this new folder, and you're just going to enter it right there and let go. And it's going to start moving these files over to your computer. You might get something like this. So I'm getting this because I already have all these files over on my computer. So what I generally do is if I get this error, I'll just do overwrite if source newer. Always use this action, apply to the current queue only. Click on OK, and then it's going to move all these files over. So what you're going to start seeing is queued files down here at the bottom and successful transfers. Don't worry too much if you get a few failed transfers. It's something that might happen. You're going to get these a lot. So what I generally do is just do overwrite if source new, and then I'll just do always use this action, click on OK. So just keep it just like that. It's going to start moving everything over. And what you're going to see right here is it's going to have this progress bar right here. So we have our progress right here. It's moving over our MySQL database. We have our queued files. We have our successful transfers. So it's going to start moving all of these over. So essentially what we're doing right now is we're moving all of our website files and our database to our computer. So we're creating a backup of our website. So you want to make sure you're taking this backup of your website, moving it to your computer so that you can then move it to your new server. Okay, so that FileZilla process could take a day, 2 days. It depends on how many files you have on your computer. For me, it took a couple of days to actually move this over. I ended up moving 2 different websites to different servers, and the total process took me about 3 days to move both websites. So it's going to take a little while if you have a lot of files on your computer, if you have a large database. If you don't, it might just take several hours. It might take less than an hour if you don't have a ton of files. But what you want essentially is all of your files here on your computer in a folder that you can use to then import into your new server. And then same with this SQL text file right here. So this is our database. So we want to move this as well into our new server. So this is what we're going to do next. So if we come back over to our process here, so what we've done is getting started. We downloaded our FTP client FileZilla and we downloaded Putty. We exported our database. So you can just try to export it directly from phpMyAdmin, but what we did is we used Putty. And then we downloaded our website files using FileZilla, so we moved everything to our computer. So now what we need to do is open up our new server. We're going to move our website files and our database to the new server. We're going to import our database using Putty, and then we're going to point our domain name and transfer it to the new server, and we're going to be all good to go, and everything's going to be moved over, and we don't have to worry about anything not moving from our old server to our new server, and we won't lose anything in the process either. So let's get started with moving everything to our new server. Okay, so we'll open up our new server here so you can see it's a little bit different. It's our dedicated server. I mean, everything here is going to look the same in cPanel. And again, if your cPanel looks a little bit different than this, you should still be able to find all these different things that I'm going into. So we're going to start by opening File Manager. So you're going to come down here a little bit to Files. You're going to open File Manager here. So I have mine open. You can see it looks a little bit different here. And then what you're going to see is I have a different domain set up for this account. So if I come into public HTML, it's going to have this right here. And what I did is I created a folder, farmhousegoals.com. So what I want to do is make sure I can get all my files into here. So I've already transferred my files into here. I'm going to show you how I did that. But you can see right here, if I open it, I have all my files in here and I have my SQL database in here as well. So this is really what you want as you're starting to set up all the files on your new server. So we're going to come back over here to cPanel and we're going to open up FTP Manager as well. So we're going to open this. Okay, so what we want to do first is make sure we create our FTP account again. So I'm going to do the same thing. We're just going to do example. And what it's going to be is it's going to have this domain instead of farmhousegoals.com because we don't have Farmhouse Goals over to this new server yet. So our login is going to be example at this right here. And then our password, we're going to enter our password. Okay, so we have our password here. So the directory is going to be a little bit different. So as I showed you before, in this one, it's public HTML farmhousegoals.com. So what you can do is just copy this right here, come over to your FTP account. You're going to see directory. We're going to copy and paste this. So it's going to be public HTML farmhousegoals.com. With some hosting providers, it'll just come up right here. So you can just click on it. So we make sure that we're in the best directory when we do log into our FTP account. So we're going to create this FTP account again. Okay, so we have our account created. So what we're going to do is come back over to FileZilla again. Now, one thing you might want to do is I'm just going to copy this right here because my domain name is a little bit more difficult to remember for this. So we're going to come back over here and our host is going to be the same thing that we did last time. So FTP dot, and I'm just going to enter that domain name that I just copied. So I want to make sure I entered it properly. So FTP dot, we don't need the @ symbol here. So FTP dot domain. Our username is going to be example, and then I can just copy and paste this here. So at this domain, our password is going to be the password that we just created. So we'll enter that here. And then port again is going to be 21. And what we're going to do is click on Quick Connect here. Okay, so as you can see, I already have all these files moved over here. So it might look a little bit different than it did in the past, but it should look pretty similar. So you're going to see all of our different files over here. If you don't have files here yet, so if you just created this directory, it's going to be empty. So it might look a little bit different than mine did, but if you don't have it created yet, what you would want to do is make sure that you come over here to all of the files in your folder here. So we're going to take all of these files here. We're going to scroll down. So we're going to copy everything that we moved over into our Farmhouse Goals folder. So you're taking the files from your computer now and you're moving them over to your new server. So you would just take these over and the same thing we just did, you're just going to drag it over here and it's going to start moving those over. So I'm not going to do it this time, but once we drag it and let go, it's going to start moving these files at the very bottom here like it did earlier. So that's what you want to do next is make sure you move all those files over until when you open your file manager here. So we open File Manager, you come into your Farmhouse Goals folder, you're going to have everything open here and you can start moving everything in there. So if we come back over to our process here, you're going to see New Server, Move Website Files and Database to the new server. So you're going to move everything into that one folder here. So now the last thing that we need to do before we point our domain name is import our database to phpMyAdmin using Putty. So it's going to be a little bit different than exporting it, but it's going to be pretty similar overall. So we're going to open Putty again. Okay, so what we want to do is open the host name for our new server. So we're going to come over here to our new server, and you're going to see we have our dedicated IP right here. So we're going to take this dedicated IP. It's different than the other one. We're going to copy it. We're going to come over here to Putty, copy and paste it right there. We're using port 22 here, SSH, and we're going to click on open. So our IP address, we're just going to enter right here, click on open, and then it's going to say login as. We're going to do the same thing here. So take this username right here. So we're going to enter the username, click on enter, and then it's going to ask for our password. So you want to enter your password here. Okay, we're going to click on enter again. And now you can see we're logged into our server. So what we need to do now is take the database that we just uploaded to File Manager. So if we come over here to File Manager real quick, you can see we have our database right here. And we need to take this database and put it into our phpMyAdmin. Now, before we do that, what we want to do is come back over to our cPanel, and we're going to come over here to Database Tools. Let's open up MySQL Databases here, and we're going to open up phpMyAdmin. So we're going to have to create a database before we can actually import it from our file manager over into phpMyAdmin. So if we open up our MySQL Databases page, you can see I've already created my database here. I already have a user on it. So what we can do here is under create new database, so you're going to have a new database right here. So you're going to take it, you're going to see example right here, and we're going to click on create database. Okay, so it's going to say added the database here. We're going to click on go back. So now what we need to do is make sure we add a user with all privileges to this database. So you can see I already have my database here. You can see the size right here. I've already imported it into my new server, and we have a privileged user on this database that I'm already using. But what we can do over here is we're going to take this user right here. So you're going to enter a new username. So we're going to take this username right here. I'll just do 123 right here. And then we're going to enter our password. So you want to put a password right here. Remember this password because you're going to need it in a follow-up step. Obviously, you want to remember all of your passwords. It helps if you start with some of the same passwords, and then you can always go back and change them later. And what we're going to do is click on create user here. Okay, so now we've successfully created a new MySQL user. We're going to come back here. We're going to scroll down, and what we want to do is add a user to a database. So we're going to take the user we just created, 123, and we're going to add it to database example, click on add. And the same thing here again, we're going to click on all privileges. So we have every privilege for this user, for this database, and we're going to click on make changes. Okay, so it's going to say you successfully added privileges to this database. So we can click on go back here. Okay, so this is what you want to remember right here, your database name and your privileged user. So what we're going to do is come back over to Putty, but first what I want to do is open up the instructions for importing this database into our account. So we're going to come back over here, and what we have is this is how we exported it. So this is what we put to export it, and then coming down over here to import a MySQL database, it's going to be pretty similar, but it's going to be a little bit different. So it's going to be this command right here. Okay, so looking at some of the different steps here, the first thing is the file must be in SQL format. It cannot be compressed or in this tar.gz file. So if we come over to our file manager real quick, so we're in our file manager on our new server, we come into public HTML here, and then we go into farmhouse goals. What we can see is we have our file uploaded right here, and it's just a .SQL file. So this is what yours should look like. So what we're going to come down here is start by uploading the SQL file onto the Bluehost server. So we've already done that. If you haven't already done so, create the MySQL database via the cPanel. So that's what we just did in the previous step. And the next thing we need to do is using SSH, navigate to the directory where your SQL file is. So this could be a little bit challenging if you're not familiar with how to do this yet. Okay, so we're going to open up Putty here, and what you're going to see right here is we're logged into our server here, and you're just going to see this little dash right here. So what that means is we're at the very beginning of the directory when we open File Manager. So we're going to come back to File Manager real quick. So in Putty right now, we're right here. So you can see we have our home FXU DCAMY folder. So we're right here. We're not even in public HTML. We're not even in farmhousegoals.com. So we're not in any different directory where we're going to be able to access our MySQL database. So if we come back over here to Putty real quick, what we want to do first is we want to move into our public HTML folder. So I want to show you how to move directories a little bit. Pretty simple process once you open this. What you're going to do is CD for change directory, and what we're going to do is public_HTML. So we click on enter, and what you're going to see right here is we're logged into our server and we're in the public HTML folder. So if we come back over here to File Manager, what we've done is we've just accessed this public HTML folder. So if we open this folder right here, you can see this is where we are right now with Putty. So what we want to do next in Putty is we want to change directory to get to farmhousegoals.com. So what we're going to do is we're going to open Putty again, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do cd, and we're going to do farmhousegoals.com. And again, this is all being accessed in our new server. So we're going to click on enter. And what you're going to see right now is farmhousegoals.com right here. So now we're in the farmhousegoals.com folder. So if we open that folder real quick in File Manager. So right now what we've done is we've just accessed this farmhousegoals.com folder. So now we're in here and you can see our SQL file right here. So if we go back to the instructions real quick and we open it here, it's going to say using SSH, navigate to the directory where your SQL file is. So that's where we are right now. So now we're able to run this command. And again, the username and database name that you're going to enter here is going to be the ones that we created previously. When we went to our MySQL database, you're going to see right here, this is the database and this is going to be the user. So you want to make sure that you're doing that. So we're going to come back over here and we're going to come to the instructions again. And you can see right here, we're going to run this command. So now that we're in the proper directory, we're going to open Putty again. What we want to do is run this command, but we want to make sure we replace username, database name, and file.sql with the proper options that we've already created. So what it's going to be is MySQL, and then it's going to be -p, -u, and then for username, so for us, it's _123, and then database name, so that's going to be the database that we created, so example. So you want to make sure you remember what your username and database name are. You can always go back and look at your MySQL username and database name that you set up in the previous step. And then what we're going to do for this one, it's going to be the less than symbol, and you're going to do file.sql. So for file.sql, you're going to get this from your file manager. So it's going to be the database name that you created when you uploaded it to your file manager. So we're going to open File Manager one more time here. So this is the file that we want to put right here. So we're going to come back over to Putty. So we're going to come to our instructions and open Putty again. Okay, so essentially what we're telling Bluehost right now is we want you to take this file right here that's in our farmhousegoals.com directory, and we want to enter it using this username and entering it into this database using this username. So hopefully that all makes sense. You're essentially taking the file from your previous server that you've uploaded to your new server, and you're importing it into the database that you just created through your MySQL Databases page. So we're going to click on enter here, and it's going to ask for your password. And for this password, it's going to be the password for the username right here that we set up for our MySQL user. So we're going to enter our password here. Click on enter. Okay, so if you see this right here, that usually means that it was successful. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back over to our cPanel. Okay, in cPanel, what we want to do is scroll down. We want to find databases. So we have database tools right here. So we want to open this MySQL Databases page again, and we're going to open phpMyAdmin. So what we should have in phpMyAdmin is our new database created with all of the tables populated using the file that was in our file manager. So this file right here that's in our file manager should have gone in phpMyAdmin. So we have our new database right here. You can see example. If we come back over to our MySQL Databases page and we scroll down, you can see our database right here. So example, we have our privileged user right here, and you can see the size is the same as this other database right here. So we successfully took the database from our file manager that we exported from our previous hosting account and imported into our new hosting account. And if we come over here to phpMyAdmin, we have example. We're just going to open it up real quick. You can see we have all these different tables added. So now we've successfully moved over all of our website files from one server to the other, and we've moved over our phpMyAdmin database, so our MySQL database, into phpMyAdmin onto our new server. So if we come over here to File Manager, what you can do at this point is delete this database. So if you've already entered it into your phpMyAdmin, you don't need it into your File Manager anymore. I'm not going to do this just yet, just because I want to make sure my website is working properly. Okay, so a couple more steps here. Now, the other thing you're going to have to do is when you do move a WordPress website to a new server, you generally have a new database name and you generally have a new database user. So when you do, what you need to do is come into this WP-Config.php, and we're going to come over here and we're going to click on edit to edit this file. So it's going to open up this file like this, and what you're going to see right here is you have DB name, DB user, and DB password. So this is going to be pulled from your MySQL database using the database name that you set up, the username that you set up, and the password that you set up when you created your user. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here, and you're going to see under current databases, this is our database name, this is our database user, and the password is going to be the one that you set up. So you're going to come over here to database name, you're going to copy it, you're going to come over to your WP-Config file, you're going to replace the value that's here to make sure you have the right database right here. Username, you're going to do the same thing, so we'll just take this, we'll copy it, come over here, it's 123. So we have our database name, our database user, and then you just need to enter your password here, and then click on Save Changes. So this allows WordPress to actually access the proper database. So to make sure you're not pointing to the database on your old server, to make sure that you're pointing to the new database that you just uploaded. So if we come over here to MySQL Databases, you want to make sure that you're pointing your website to the proper database with the right files and everything that you need to make sure that your WordPress website is displaying properly. So you want to make sure that you do that in your WP-Config.php file. Click on Save Changes there. Okay, so now that we've done that, last thing that we need to do is we need to come over here. So we're in our dedicated hosting account, and what we can see right here is if I come into my dedicated hosting account, I only have this domain on my account right now. So if I come over here to domains, it's going to open up all the domains that I have. So you're going to see I don't have Farmhouse Goals here at all yet. Okay, so this is the only domain on my account. So this isn't what I want at all. I want to make sure that I can transfer a new domain to my account. I want to transfer farmhousegoals.com. But we need to take a few steps on our old server first. So we're going to go back into our old server. So what you would do in cPanel, so you might just have a tab at the top here where you can just click on domains. Otherwise, you might have to scroll down a little bit and you're going to open Domain Manager right here on your old hosting account. Okay, so I'm in my old hosting account now, and you can see I have farmhousegoals.com selected over here. You can see my registrar is just Bluehost, so it makes it a lot easier when your website is just registered or your domain name is just registered with Bluehost. And what we want to do right here is under locked status, it's going to say locked right here. We're going to click on edit and we're going to unlock our domain. So if we come over here to main, you're going to see successfully updated. If we come over here to main, if it still says locked right here, that's fine. We might just have to refresh the page. I'm not going to do that for right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to Nameservers next. And what I like to do is first make sure that I'm setting the right Nameservers so that the domain before I transfer it is already pointing to the Nameservers on my new hosting account. Cloudflare set up for this website. Otherwise, I could just use default Nameservers. So this would point to the files in the database in my current hosting account. So what I'm going to do for right now is just get rid of these ones right here, these custom Nameservers. And we're going to save Nameserver settings. Okay, so we've saved that now. So what we want to do is we're going to come over to our new hosting account. So my dedicated hosting account. So I'm going to open up that one real quick. We're going to come in here to Domain Manager. And if we scroll down here, you can see main and Nameservers. So usually no matter what hosting account you have, if you come into the domain section and you click on Nameservers, it'll show how to host your domain with Bluehost. So you can see it's going to be the same Nameservers it showed in the previous step. But what we can do is I'll copy these. I'll copy ns1.bluehost.com. We'll come back over to our old hosting account. Okay, so for this, I could just use default Nameservers, but what you would want to do is use custom Nameservers because it might be a little bit different. It might be ns1.hostgator.com if you're putting it into a brand new web host, if you're not just staying with the same web host, and then it's just going to be ns2.bluehost.com. So you want to use custom Nameservers here. I know it's the same thing right here, but just in case your Nameservers are going to be different, you can save Nameserver settings. Okay, so we've successfully updated these Nameservers here. If we come back to main here, it's still going to say locked. What you can do is just always do it one more time, click on unlock. Okay, so before we transfer this to our new hosting account, we want to make sure it's unlocked right here, and we want to make sure that the Nameservers that we have are set up and pointing to our new web host. So you can see it's just going to have default Nameservers here. You would want to make sure you have custom Nameservers here if they're going to be different than the default Nameservers. So we're going to come back over to our new hosting account, our dedicated hosting account. So we come back over here. What we want to do is transfer a new domain to our account. So we're just going to click on transfer here. Okay, so what we want to do, enter domain to transfer. So we're going to enter farmhousegoals.com. Okay, and we're going to click on continue. Okay, so it's saying it's already in our system, but attached to another account. If you are the owner of this domain, you must assign it to this account. So we're going to assign it to our account. Okay, so generally what it's going to do is make you enter this EPP code right here. Otherwise, you can enter a password if you're just staying with the same registrar. So since I'm staying with Bluehost, I'm just moving it to another account. I can just enter my password here. Where you would find the EPP code is if we open our old hosting account one more time. Okay, what we can do is you're going to see over here, transfer EPP. So if we click on this tab right here, okay, so you're going to see my EPP code right here. So this is going to allow me to transfer my domain to a new account. So we're going to come back over to our dedicated hosting account again. And what you would do is you would copy and paste that EPP code here. So for me, I'm just going to enter my password since I'm just moving it from one Bluehost account to the other. Okay, so I entered my password above. And what we're going to do here is going to say choose add-on versus parked. So we're going to do an add-on domain right here. And what we're going to do is use an existing directory. So we're going to use the directory farmhousegoals.com. So if we come over here to File Manager, this is why we created this folder right here. So essentially what it's saying is in the public HTML folder, we have farmhousegoals.com right here. So what we're doing is we're assigning this domain name to all the files that are in this directory right here. So we're going to come down and what we're going to do is assign this domain. Okay, so in our dedicated hosting account, what we can see here is under domains, domain lists. If we scroll down, you can see please select a domain. We have our farmhousegoals.com domain assigned to this hosting account now. So if we click on it, we can see we have it in here. What we want to do first is make sure we lock it. So come here and just lock our domain. Okay, we're going to come over to main here. And now you can see we have this. It's going to say unassigned right here, but it's already assigning to our cPanel account. If it doesn't assign, you can always click on assign right here. So we should have this all properly set up. Okay, so the last thing you're really going to have to do is just make sure your website's working properly. There's a few errors that might happen when you do first start up your website. What I'll do real quick is I'll just refresh this page. We'll see if it's working. Okay, so far so good. Now when you log in, you want to make sure the login is okay. If you have any errors here, there might be an issue with a caching plugin. What you can do is always go into your cPanel and kind of deactivate some of your different plugins, just move them to some different folders, and then you can always move them back just to find the cause of the error. If your website was working fine before you transferred it, it should be working fine after you transfer it. The one thing that I've had issues with is, again, those caching plugins sometimes, so you might need to go in, clear your cache. I also use Cloudflare, so as you start using that again, you might need to clear your Cloudflare cache. So some of these different things you might need to do after you move everything over, but just to go through the process one more time, just so you went to all the different things that we did. So we first started downloading our FTP client, FileZilla, and our SSH client, Putty. So I went over a lot of that in the video. From our old server, we exported our database from phpMyAdmin using Putty. Again, you can just try to go into phpMyAdmin in your cPanel and just download your database. That didn't work for me. It's just too big of a database, so it kept timing out. The other thing you want to do is download your website files using FileZilla. Again, with this, you can try to create a zip file and just download that zip file directly to your computer. If both of those methods work, it's a lot easier than using Putty and FileZilla, but you should understand how to connect your website using SSH and FTP at this point. And then on your new server, what we did was we moved all of our website files over and our database to that new server. We imported our database to phpMyAdmin using Putty. Obviously, we had to create some MySQL usernames, our MySQL database in the process. We also created some FTP accounts for FileZilla, so you should be able to do that as well at this point. And then last but not least, in our new server, we pointed our domain name to the Nameservers on our new server, and then we just transferred the domain altogether. I highly recommend making sure that you set up those Nameservers first, because one time I transferred a domain name and my website ended up going down for about 3 days while the domain transferred to a brand new registrar and a brand new host. So you want to make sure you do that first, so then your website is starting to point to your new files and database first as you set everything up, and you don't have any downtime with your website. So hopefully this taught you how to move a WordPress website to a new website hosting server using cPanel, using FileZilla, and using Putty. So thank you for watching my video today. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. The process might be a little bit different depending on the server that you're using, depending on your hosting provider, and depending on the type of website you're trying to transfer. This should work for any WordPress website in any hosting account that has cPanel. So again, thank you for watching my video today, and make sure you subscribe to the Surfside PPC YouTube channel.